All right, welcome to the cryptography working group, CBOM for CycloneDX. We've just discussed we're going to be populating the algorithm names in this kind of format here in the very near future. So that's going to be good. So that work will essentially kind of continue over the next couple of weeks, I would imagine, as we kind of sort through that list that we have and start seeing if we can kind of apply that to this format over here. We still have the question of curve names, though. Do we want to revisit that now, or is there something else in the spec that we might want to look at now? What's the thoughts?
Good point. Yes, so I was thinking, so I just a little bit of information. I also fixed the PR because I messed it up in the beginning. And while looking through that, I saw two small to-dos we still had, which we can quickly discuss, should be 5 minutes, or something like that. I would also have a question to the PR in general, because I don't know if I created now the right way. But yeah, I think then we could have a look at the curves. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I also just have something brief about we had some internal use case to better be able to describe one of the protocols that we have, IKE v2. So basically for TLS we have this cipher suite where you have an object for them. And in IKE v2 we have something there, but it isn't able to capture everything that is needed. So it's just the proposal is to extend that and also create an object for these IKE transform types. We can also quickly review that.
Okay, is there a PR for that or a proposal for that somewhere?
No, it's not in the PR
Okay.
yet. I have a kind of a draft of an object that I could share.
I've got your Nicholas. I've got your the PR open. It looks like you just commented on it like 20 minutes ago or something. Is that
Yes.
is that the one that you wanted to review today?
Yes. So I actually had to delete. So my question is about how to, from what I should fork and then create the new one. Because what I did was I basically create the crypto one from the master. And now the PR is for merging this crypto branch in the 1.7 dev, which seems like even if I rebase it and just put 3 commit on it, still has some issues. So it seems like the 1.7 dev is not up to the master, or there were some changes. So should I rebase or should I fork from the 1.7 dev before I create?
Yeah, fork from 1.7 dev. There have been a few minor changes to master, but fork from 1.7 dev, because that's what all the other things are forking from.
Okay. That was, again, I guess my issue in the past, that I forked and rebased on master, and then it's really messy.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Then and when I delete my branch, the PR will automatically be closed. So I had to reopen this one, and I probably have to do it then now another time because of the.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So do you want to wait then to review this, or do you want to review it now, given the fact that the changes are going to be the same, or are actually this diff is really big? So, all right. So yeah.
Yeah, let me clean it up first before we review it, if that's fine.
Because it's literally one big diff. So okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Basil, did you have something to show? For the IKE object?
Yeah, just 1 second. Try to. Let's try to see how it was so far. Okay, I'll try that. You see my text editor?
Yep.
Yeah, it's on basically in the IQ2 transform type. We have this different properties that like IQ2 is the key exchange and authentication protocol in IPsec, right? So there's is an encryption algorithm which has a name, a key length, and the bomb ref to the algorithm. Then the pseudo random function, also with a name and a bomb ref, and I think that's integrity protocol, so that's something like an HMAC and a bomb ref as well, and the key exchange algorithm, which is a number of groups, I think. And so far we couldn't what we had so far, we only had the a bomb ref actually, right, for each of them. But for cipher suites, we also have something like a name to also describe the cipher suite. Because then for like policies and so, it's easier to just look up the name, and they are kind of well defined by the IPsec by the IKv2 protocol. So right, so this on the left hand side is just kind of a draft how this could look like transform type. So it would be an object, right, with and yeah, with all this encrypt, PRF, integrity, and key exchange. And then I think that's what you suggested, Nicholas, is to have them as an array, to have one or more, more than one of these algorithms in there. And then they would be would be always a name, this is string, key length, and the algorithm. While I think algorithms we have a special type, I think, right? This crypto ref array.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So question. So we've got four so we got encryption, pseudo random function, I think, integrity, and key exchange. Can this be applicable to things other than this transform type? Because I don't necessarily know if we want to make objects that are specific to each like protocol.
Yeah. I mean, so far we just have, we already have an object for that. In 1.6,
Oh, we do?
There is already one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's yeah, it's very similar actually. And
let's see, components. Crypto properties. Is it under
we have this
crypto?
We have this cipher suite, which is kind of specific to TLS, and then IKv2 transform types, which is specific
Oh, we
to
do. Yeah.
to IKE.
Yeah, it's in the protocol properties, isn't it?
Yeah.
IKv2 transform types. Okay, so you're adding this to where then? So
So this would basically replace that IQ2 transform types.
Okay, because right now it's just an array of strings, and now we're saying it's an array of objects.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we will need to deprecate the array of strings so we don't break things in 1.7. And then we will then add the array of objects. The ESN is the same. What's the okay? The auth is going to be the same, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really just those four things that then change from just being an array of strings to an array of objects. Okay. All right. I understand. All right. So yeah, we'll have to deprecate what's currently there and then add this. Yeah.
I'm not sure if there would be a more backwards compatible thing.
Well, I mean, with JSON schema, you can say, well, it's either going to be, this ENCR, for example, it's either going to be, an array of strings or it's going to be an array of objects. And we can order it in the schema in such a way where, from the documentation perspective, the array of objects is first and the array of strings is second, and we can mark it as deprecated, and it'll show up as deprecated in the documentation.
Okay. Okay, then I mean, what I can do is I can also add it to the pull request, basically.
Okay, yeah, that would be fine.
Commit it there.
So are these kind of the properties? So like on the encryption, we've got name, key length, and algorithm. Are those the ones? Have these kind of been finalized, for example?
Yeah, so these are basically those that
Okay.
are defined in the standard. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. So is my question is, will the algorithm, because right now, right, if you specify the encryption, for example, right, the NCR, you're basically specifying the bomb link to where you have it already defined in the CBOM. Question for you. With this approach, you'll still be able to do that. However, it looks like you would also be able to just supply the name and not necessarily have that thing documented in the CBOM. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you could have both. And I think one of the motivations is the naming is not necessarily the same in this name thing here as it would be in the bomb ref, right? Because this naming is kind of specific to how it is defined in IC v2. I think it's just then it's easier to find that exactly. Yeah, if you have a scanner, for example, specific to IC. While yes, you could still link it to the algorithm and then look up the algorithm properties there and things like, I mean, with the extensions that we are doing now, things like the standard behind it, the URL of the standard and so on.
Right. Yeah, I would, when you're working on that PR, then I would try to flesh out the documentation so that the consumers of this actually understand what the intent is, so that you could supply one or the other or both would be ideal.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. No, this makes sense. Okay. All right. So that'll be an easy change, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I will add it there.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Nice.
Have we identified any other gaps, right? We've worked with the other gentleman before. We've identified, after a lot of conversations, we identified some small gaps there. We've fixed those. It looks like the ICV2 was another gap. Are there any other known gaps that we think we have?
Wait, I don't think so. Even there's some small thing that comes to my mind, which I quickly check, but in general, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the certificate extensions, we have them right now in the PR, right? So this
Right.
was one of the major, I mean, gaps or kind of additional
Yeah.
features to have. And
Yes.
that is IQ2 now popped up. Otherwise, yeah, besides the algorithms and curves, I don't have anything else in my
Okay.
mind right now.
Okay. So do we want to then start on the daunting task of talking about curves?
Sure.
Fantastic.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone have that? Actually, it might be in the documentation, I think. Yeah, it is actually. And the website is still functional. Yay, good. And let's see if the repo is still functional. Is GitHub down? The page is taking too long to load. Okay. I haven't seen that in a very long time. I got the GitHub unicorn. I just thought I'd share that. But we've got, this is the curve database that we were looking at last time, and I can't remember which one of these individuals I was talking to.
Yeah, I think this was John.
John. Okay.
Yeah.
Also put the GitHub link in the chat.
Yeah.
No, it's the same. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, it's up now. Okay. I think GitHub was just having an intermediate temporary issue. All right, this hasn't been updated in a long time. Yeah, this has been a while. Looks like the last update was probably 3 years ago. Of course, they put something in the other category 7 months ago, it looks like. How often do curves actually change? Do they change often?
I think since there is the post-quantum research and so on going, it has maybe shifted a bit to those post-quantum algorithms. So
Right.
I think curves, they aren't, yeah, they don't pop up too often right now.
Okay.
New ones.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me actually.
But this list, I mean, it's quite nice, right? Because it also, I mean, already contains everything in JSON format, I think.
It does. It does.
Including parameters.
Yeah.
Even some OIDs.
Yep.
The points of the curves, the parameters that define the curve. So probably more than we would need in
yeah, for sure.
CycloneDX.
Yeah, for sure. Now I do remember when I was talking to Jan that one of the things he did say is that there are duplicates in here. So some curves are known by different names depending on the paper I think something was published in. And there are some curves that are documented in here that only appear in research papers. There's no implementations in the wild. Again, this was five years ago. So who knows if that statement is still true, but it probably is, would be my guess. Now we could go in here and basically document all of them. There's 500 and I can't remember. I think oh wait, no. 400 or 246 curves, out of which 197 are unique. So that tells me there's a lot of duplicates there. It's like 50 duplicates.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, what's that?
So would it make sense to identify the duplicates and then name them as aliases?
Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen any place in here where they actually mark things as duplicate, though.
Yeah. Isn't it in the web page described that this curve is also known under a different name?
Oh, maybe. Oh, interesting. Maybe they already have some of this stuff. Well, there's not 50 here, so they don't have it all documented.
But for example, the SecG or the NIST algorithms, they should have aliases in the SecG
Right.
folder. That's documented.
Oh, there's 16 occurrences of aliases in here. Interesting. So P192, also known as, oh, they do have it. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maybe we do have everything we need. Now, obviously, the majority of this information we actually do not need. Now, if you're a cryptographer, you would need this, but people consuming and generating CycloneDX bombs are not cryptographers for the most part. What fields do we actually need, right? I think that the name, maybe the category, the OID, the aliases, those all make sense to me.
Maybe the bits as well.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Bits. Okay.
Well, from that you can somehow derive the security strength.
Right.
Yeah, not directly, but kind of gives an indication
Exactly.
for it.
And we could theoretically, if these are links to either research papers or standards, we could theoretically, instead of just providing the alias, we could provide the alias and the URL to where you can find information about that. If we wanted to go down that
Mm-hmm.
far, we could. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's what we do then.
Mm-hmm. Then we
Um,
basically replace in the current version the curve like string attribute with an object, or do we link it to something?
that is a good question. Let me give that some thought. JSON schema. I mean, you for enums, for example, for enums, what happens is that you can only have a string for the most part, right? You can only just, well, you can have an enum of objects actually. But then like if you wanted to describe the curve, you basically have to describe like, you know, the name, the OID, I mean, I guess you could do that. Yeah, I guess that would work actually. Yeah, that might actually work. Let me give it some thought, because the other approach is to use the JSON schema any of keyword. And any of, like from a document, so there's a big difference, even though they're both basically enumerations, right? The one is an enumeration, for example, and it's an enumeration of like string or object or whatever. And you can have like this kind of view from a documentation perspective, right? If you choose, so that's what an enumeration looks like in JSON schema. If you go with maybe something else where you got like different choices of things, like different structures, then the documentation looks like this. Now, it's not so bad when you have like 2 or 3, but we have 200 of them. So we don't want to structure it in a way where that from a JSON schema documentation perspective, it's going to look like this.
Yes.
And pretty much all of this, all of the, not just our tool, but pretty much all of the documentation generators basically make the exact same assumption.
Okay.
So I'll have to play with it a little bit and see if I can get it to work correctly. And, you know, that would result in a list like what we saw up top, the first example. Let me give that a little bit of research. And I think the first step is actually scraping the existing curves.json in each of the categories and actually coming up with a canonical list of all of the data that I want in the CycloneDX part. So that'll be the first thing that I do. I can give that a whirl.
Okay.
So name, category, maybe description, OID, and bits and aliases. So those are the things that we want to capture.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
I mean, not sure if it's needed, but I mean, the form of the elliptic curve might also be something useful
What's
to know.
up?
I mean, the form is Weierstrass, or there is Montgomery or Edwards. It's kind of
Okay.
the type of elliptic curve it is.
Right.
I mean, they all fall in some category of type.
Okay. Yeah, I can capture that.
Useful,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, all the other stuff is it's information overload. But yeah, I can capture those things. Then I can also capture maybe a description of each of the categories too. If we want to support categories, we may not. What's your thought on categorization of these curves? Is the category kind of like a namespace? For example, does P192 exist in another category?
Yeah, these are you will have an alias there, right? So this P192 is also known as sec P192 or R1, which is sec G and X.
Exactly.
962.
So if I go to the sec one, they're going to cross-reference each other, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically. So if I open this, 192
should be the same parameters.
P192, P-192. Yeah, right. Yep. Yep. Okay, so they do cross-reference each other. That's interesting.
So that bit the question. Do you then enumerate everything or have one curve and then the alias underneath?
You would have to pick one name, right? As the name and then list the alias names.
I
Something like
mean,
that.
I could do one or the other. I mean, I can list them all. So I guess here's the thing, right? Because from an enumeration perspective, I mean, a tool might, especially outside of the US, might see it and use this name. And if you're US federal, you're obviously going to use this name. I mean, I could theoretically list them both, or I could list just one of them. Now, if we list just one, we will need to make 50 decisions on which one is like the primary one that we, go forward with.
Yep. Which is not
I don't
easy.
have a strong opinion either way, but maybe food for thought between now and the next time we meet, like which approach would be best.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be easier for the user, right? So or a CBOM user will have one name, right? That might be the easiest for them to just try to look up the whole list, and then it will just find it, and then it will find also the aliases if they need it, right?
Yeah, if it's not, for example, in the list of curves, then they would have to enumerate all the aliases in all the curves to hopefully then find it.
I mean, the question is, sorry, go ahead.
So it would be just an additional loop that the tool would actually have to go through.
Yes. Yeah.
So what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was thinking because we normally think about the use case on the raw CBOM, but I don't know how the CBOM is always used, but if I imagine there's a generator and the generator could, for example, have still the whole list as a flat list without alias, like kind of provide that. Even if we in the documentation have then, when you generate then the CBOM, only the leading name will be selected and the alias will be appended. So, but from a tooling perspective, you would still have a flat list. I don't know if that makes even sense. I try to see the benefit in maybe it's just for us to maintain the data better if we don't have like, for each curve and all the alias. But yeah, I don't know. Does it make sense? Is it worth it to do it that way? Because otherwise we have too much to maintain, or because currently I think we would just kind of copy this repo basically. So we don't really, I don't know how we would approach it then from the next time. If there's like new curves, we may add them. We may do a little bit of research, figuring out the alias and put it in, and then. But I don't think like there's hardly a lot of benefit in, only having one leading and then alias underneath and not enumerating all. But yeah, I don't know. Just thinking, or what would be the benefit from your side?
If we had, okay, so if we had the duplicates in there, and they would reference each other. That would be less work on us because we wouldn't have to do the research and the documenting the decision on which one is the primary one we call things. It would be less work on us. It would likely be less work on the tools from a generation perspective, but from a analysis perspective, right now that those same tools need to take all the aliasing into consideration. So that's additional work on the tool makers. If we were to deduplicate everything and just have one occurrence of the thing with all the aliases and nothing cross-referencing each other, if we just have one authoritative list, then it would be additional work on the team. It would likely be a one-time effort for the most part, unless the new curve comes up, right, with aliases. But it would basically just be a one-time thing. It would likely result in less work on the tool vendors, and it would lead to more consistency in CBOM output. So the same tool or different tool vendors, different tools would basically now produce the exact same name for this thing, right? You wouldn't have the, one tool saying this and another tool saying this, right? You wouldn't have that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So it's kind of the making the decision, right? Or picking the real name. That's kind of would be the challenge. So would it be, let's say we don't want to do that, right? I think we don't want to decide which is the real name, right? Kind of, or I don't have a bias for them. So could we have a different identifier for the individual curves? Let's say just run number from 1 to 200 and
it's curve 5.
Yeah, it's like in IKV2, the groups, they just have a number. Group 20.
That would be an option. That would be an option. The other thing that we could potentially do is just come up with criteria. So if we have to make 50 decisions, what are the criteria in which we make those decisions? And just ensure that we make them consistently. Right? For example, right, this one, I don't know, I haven't done the research, but this one, it looks like the name is actually defined in a standard. That could be one of the criteria that we use. Now, the P192, that's a US government thing. And yes, NIST is a standards body. However, if the intent was simply to refer to an existing standard already, then we should take that existing standard.
But I agree. But maybe before we go, maybe one road or the other, understanding question from my side. Is there, from a compliance point of view, a difference in having the NIST curve there or the SEC curve? Are they really the same? Or is there a regulatory view on that one would be compliant and the other would not?
The curve is really the same.
Okay.
It's just same thing.
I was just thinking about this MLChem and Kyber use where we, where it's maybe the same algorithm, but one is standardized and one not.
There it's not, there it's not really the same algorithm. They are a bit different.
Yeah.
Right.
There it would make sense to have two entries because they are not the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if the things are actually now, here's a question. Actually, let's look at this real quick.
Yeah, but I think not all of the curves have OIDs. If we want to take this as a key.
Right. Fantastic. They all have the same OID, which is interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because they are the same curve, right? But also, I
Exactly.
mean, just with this example, I think it's already difficult to decide, right? Because NIST is a standardization body, X9, that's ANSI, that's also,
Yeah.
they are both American standardization bodies, so we can so not say, okay, one is American, we take this. And or something else.
Maybe we do first published, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because something
Yeah.
had to have been published first. You're always going to have corner cases that even if things are the first published, that name that's used is just not widely used. Maybe a different name is more widely acceptable. So there's going to be corner cases to this too. It's not going to be 50 easy decisions, I guess, is my dilemma. And I know we're at time, so I do have to jump onto another call, but this is going to be good food for thought between now and the next time we meet.
Yep.
So thank you both. Great conversation today. And
thank you too.
I'll look forward to that PR, and I'll let you know when my changes are ready.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Right.
Cheers.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye. You too.